tragedy of 9/11. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right. Pete Thamel yesterday reporting that the presidents of the Big 12 scheduled tomorrow to formally vote for UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, Brigham Young. This is a formality, no question about it. We knew that they were coming. I have heard from more and more from those fan bases excited about the fact they're going to be a part of the Big 12. But there will be various votes along the way. But this one here is the formal, hey, do you want to be a part of the conference? And these teams of our programs, universities, have already said, we want to come to the Big 12.
Yeah, and the AAC has now publicly acknowledged that they're going to have to expand themselves and that they're going to do that. Mike Oresco's done that. So all the talking around things can be over soon, which is fun. It's nice. It'll be nice to directly talk about it with the people in the know and in charge. And I'm excited to hear what the universities, I want to hear what UCF and BYU and Cincinnati and Houston have to say about this opportunity for them. I'm sure they're busting at the seams.
Yeah, I think got to give credit to Ross Dellinger and SI. They actually were talking about this last week, and then, Pete Thamel came across yesterday and confirmed that it was happening, but we had an indication that was going to take place, and he was able to just, solidify that, yeah, actually it is going to happen on Friday. So great news. We were kind of talking about that yesterday quite a bit. Looking forward to these 4 teams being brought in, and, it's not going to stop expansion, obviously, because, as you said, the Americans now got to go and poach some teams, although, now we're starting to whittle down to a certain group of teams that are remaining that are, viable for anybody to want to go and poach from somewhere else. Pretty soon there's not going to be anybody left to go and get, because you're only going to go down so far. But, I think the American, there's some good teams for them. They could have been in a way worse position as far as who was available. But I think when you do have some of the teams out there, they're going to be fine. They're not going to be as strong, obviously, but they'll still be a good competitive conference, I believe. But, yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow and excited to see what the Big 12 actually says and the responses from these schools. It should be pretty cool.
We will have John Kurtz. He covers Kansas State. He has a YouTube channel as well. He's been really on top of this as well when it comes to the Big 12 and the possibility of expansion or realignment, or whatever words you want. He'll join us today at 3:30. Here are 2 or 3 text messages from the 281. Let me say this. I'm starting to get excited about what I see with the Big 12. This would be a complete run conference in football, flat out better in basketball than the SEC. There is a real potential here. Great work, by the way. Thank you. To the 281 as well, given Texas Tech whipped Houston at NRG, and Tech is not considered a world beater, and about half of the attendance was Red Raider fans. Is there any concern U of H fans are not numerous and will not travel to Big 12 games? Not so much of a cash machine for the Big 12. And then one more than you guys respond to these from the area code 513. This is Jordan McDonald, Cincinnati, Ohio. And I say we're going to dominate college football for once the Cincinnati Bearcats are picked up to be a part of the Big 12 conference.
Well,
I love Cincinnati's swagger.
Cincinnati's on the right track with Luke Fickell, and joining a Power 5 conference maybe keeps him there. Maybe that keeps him there. Just like it'll keep coaches in places, at UCF and at BYU usually has long tenured coaches, so that's not usually a problem for them. But it'll keep them there. It'll keep coaches at Houston as long as they're successful, and they won't maybe use it as a stepping stone job. And for Houston, I don't know. I think we have to wait and see on that. Will they show up? When they show up when they're good, if the Big 12 helps them get good, will they pop up? Yeah, maybe they will. I don't know. I mean, I think that's one of the concerns what we mentioned about Houston, Craig, from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't just outright hating Houston. I wasn't just like had some bone to pick with the Cougars. I mean, never had a reason to dislike them or anything like that, really. I just worried about, some of those things like, attendance or just the fact that it kind of dilutes the pool a little bit. But then, a lot of people came with the argument, no, it actually strengthens the Texas pool. So, to each their own on whatever opinion they have on that. But I'm not going to be concerned about it. It's not my concern to have as a fan. I mean, they have 2 people in the stands. So be it. Doesn't affect my life in any way. But I would imagine that's something the Big 12 had to have taken into consideration. And if they did, which they should, then I guess it's not that big of an issue for them. But, yeah, when I said that Houston doesn't necessarily carry Houston, because that was one person trying to make that argument of, no, it's the city of Houston. It's like, yeah, technically, but not really. That was my whole point, is that you don't have sold-out crowds every week because you're in the city of Houston, or massive TV ratings because you're in the city of Houston. You just so happen to be in the city of Houston, So we'll see if the Big 12, like what I wonder now is if this Big 12 membership does amplify that support. And not to say they don't have good support, but just in terms of people showing up and things like that, maybe that raises the stakes a little.
From Michael Messias, or Messias possibly, we UH fans traveled to the Peach Bowl just fine and beat Florida State, followed it up by beating Oklahoma. Stop worrying about us. Okay, well, we'll see.
I just said I'm not worried about you.
We're not worried about you. We're answering a question. And I had somebody today ask me on the text line prior to the show, what's the difference between Houston and SMU? Why would they get picked other than SMU? Both of them have a lot of the same similarities. A lot of them have the same type of pros and cons. But Houston's the team that ended up, at least appears, being picked, and who knows what happens down the road. And TCU and Texas Tech and Baylor are already kind of entrenched. They're not Oklahoma, Texas, or A&M maybe in Dallas, but they have a pretty good presence there. In Houston, Baylor's got a nice little fan base in Houston, but that is SEC country now with A&M, Texas, and now a little bit more because of Houston being a part of the Big 12.
Also, I don't know if SMU really got in on this. I mean, I don't think they did. I mean, like, they might want to eventually, as their program continues to grow, but it's taken them 35 years to get to where they are now after the death penalty. And so they're in a comfortable spot. They need to grow at a comfortable pace, and being good all of a sudden and jumping into a Power 5 just to do it kind of undoes all the work you did to get to be a team that people don't want to play.
Yeah, and we could get into that, and we will, and we've discussed it a lot, and so also the text line's available. Phone calls up until 3:30 today at 254-339-1122. I got a couple of San Diego State notes today, and again, the question we have when you ask about San Diego State, and is he from the 310 who played there in 2006 until 2010, the question I have about San Diego State is then why, if there's value there, or UNLV, if there's value there, then why would the Pac-12 not have already gobbled them up? And then you could say the same thing. If there's value at SMU and Houston, then why would the original Big 12 not have included them in the first place? So you have this, you're close but not close enough. And by the way, those 8 remaining teams in the Big 12 right now kind of feel the same way. How come we weren't picked up by somebody? And so it just kind of, what do you call it? But sometimes blank runs downhill. And unfortunately, some schools, no matter their population of the city they're in, it just doesn't carry the weight that you would like. And so who knows what's going to happen with college football. Again, this process tomorrow, there are numerous votes. There's already been a few. There was at one point, I'm being told, there was a vote back in August. It was actually a vote in July to explore expansion. And then a week later in August, there was a vote to expand. The first 2 weeks of August were all about visiting locations, sites of universities and campuses, about expansion. About 15 different schools. Of those, only 6 of the 8 moved forward. Brigham Young, Boise State, Cincinnati, Houston, Memphis, SMU, UCF, and USF. And then the commissioner asked for a unanimous vote for who should be among those schools left. And that's when USF and also SMU fell out. That was back in July and August, and eventually you get to the 4 schools now with Houston, BYU, UCF, and also Cincinnati. So we'd love to hear from you today, 254-339-1122.